Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to this Blitz chess postmortem. Postmortem of my Blitz game number 347. That was black here. Cancel that. My opponent played c4, the English opening, and I responded with c5, the symmetrical defense. And now we went g3. Not quite as common as the knight moves, but still a respectable way to play. And I decided I could go g6 immediately, which is the most popular response. But I've been covering this opening in my opening basics series, and I wanted to try and get one of these four knights setups. But my opponent doesn't cooperate. He keeps here when he could be developing a knight and we could potentially transpose into one of those lines that I'd looked at. Instead, he moves his pawns, and we're basically out of the opening book. Now, it's not like these moves can be punished in any particular way. They're just not the most common moves. You see the evaluation is about even, so it's not like there's some big idea I have here, although it looks like building up with e6 and d5 might be the way to try and get the most out of white's slow play with the pawns. Anyway, I went with the more typical g6 fianchetto setup of the bishop, and now if he were to continue knight c3, once again we could get back into one of these more common lines in the English, but he continues with a3. And now what the engine thinks d5 is definitely the way to break here and take advantage of the fact that, well, white's neglecting his development and making all these pawn moves. It's not a huge breakthrough, but it looks like d5 would give some advantage. Anyway, I just continued with normal development. Bishop g7, queen c2, and d6. Setting up this dark squared control strategy. He plays knight h3 here, a bit of a strange move, but well, I thought maybe he's going to route his knight to f4 here, and I wanted to stop that. And I was also intrigued by the idea of setting up this Botvinnik triangle of pawns here and just having a very solid center, and then maybe expanding on the king side later. So, well, he continues with the logical move knight c3. Now, the downside of this pawn triangle is it does create a hole right here, and the knight is an ideal piece to drop into that hole, so you always have to be aware of that possibility when you play this kind of setup. I castle here, and he goes knight g5. So his original plan of going to knight f4 has been stopped, but he has another idea. He's using g5 as a square to route his knight to e4. Now at this point I was a little bit concerned about the pressure on d6 here. He can bring the other knight into g5 and pile up on e6. So I decided to trade off one pair of knights. And now there's only a single knight attacking this point. Cancel that. I meant to highlight it. There's only a single knight attacking this point on d6. And this bishop can't attack it. It's the wrong color. And the other bishop has not got an easy route to get around and attack it. So, and there's no frontal attack from rooks because there's pawns in the way. So this pawn, which is the bedrock of my center formation here, is pretty solid now. So I'm feeling pretty good about my chances. Got a nice solid setup, and I'm ready to expand later. I start by bringing the bishop out, give me some flexibility where to place the rooks. He goes d3 here, keeping me... No, actually, that just supports his knight in the center. I was thinking I was already kept out of this square. That square was already controlled by e3. So d3, defending the c-pawn, that's really what it's about. I play the move f5, kicking his knight. His knight drops back to c3. And then I went queen d7. It's interesting here that e4 is a move. I didn't catch this idea, but it's a nice idea. e4, and you may think it's a pawn sack at first because that's covered by the bishop, the queen, and the pawn are all looking at that square, and the knight. But there's a counterattack on c4. So if he takes, I grab on c4. So it's not really a pawn sack, and it opens things up at a time when his king is still in the center. That's how you can take advantage of slow play from your opponent, if you can get your pieces in good position and then play a pawn break to open things up. That's probably the right way to deal with this situation. So I was ignoring that possibility and just lifting my queen up, connecting my rooks. He goes knight d5. And did he have a better move there? No, that's fine. Castling might have been better, but now I bring my rook into the game this way, placing it opposite his king, which he seems strangely reluctant to castle in this game. And Bishop d2. Well, maybe he plans to castle queenside, so he's just taking his time. And once again, I can strike out with f4 and try and open up some lines here. I guess even at the cost of sacking a pawn, it's worthwhile if I can open up these lines. I had the idea of f4 after another move. He played rook b1. See, right there he should have castled probably. And right now, f4 is a very good move. I didn't play it. I tried to set it up with the move g4, but f4, once again, the idea is you want to open up lines while your opponent's king is still in the center. And if he grabs the pawn here, he can't really afford to take again. I was thinking he could take with the knight, though. Is there, yeah, just the exchange sack here. Okay. Is good because you get some nice discovery. Or just knight to d4, kicking the queen. Queen to d1. Why not queen to c1? Bishop, queen to d1 runs into a discovered attack with the bishop. So why not just move the queen somewhere else? Bishop to h3 check. Okay, so I'm winning a piece over here at least. Okay, interesting. So, so this move f4 is tactically justified, and it's the logical culmination of you know, I've got all my pieces here. I'm ready for that breakthrough, and you should really just play it when you have the chance. Instead, I play this unnecessary prep move, and actually it's a weakening move too because it's opened up possibilities along this diagonal. It was actually shielding my king there, so that's a double bad move. It was because it's bad because I had a better move available in f4, and it's bad because it weakens my king side instead of strengthening my attack like I intended. Okay, so he's pushing on the queen side, and I get in my move f4, and he just ignores it and pushes on with b5. And now I should play f3 here, kicking his bishop. I was thinking about that during the game. I wasn't sure, though. After f3, he can take my knight first, right? Maybe not. Oh, okay, I missed this trick. I thought because he's taking my knight and attacking my queen, I had to respond to that. But I can respond by taking his bishop. And if he takes my queen, I queen with check. And not only that, but it's a mate in 3 here. So that's a monster pawn. Okay, so after f3, he has to move his bishop, and then I can move my knight to e7. Okay, so that would also be a good way to play it. I move the knight first, and now he should stop the f-pawn push with a move like f3. He played a4 instead, and so I thought opening up lines would be to my advantage, but this actually helps him. It brings his bishop out, which was sort of blocked in by his pieces. His king, even though it's in the center, my only open line is to this f2 square, which is now pretty well defended by the bishop and the queen. So yeah, it didn't really help my attack there. Okay, I play king h8, getting off of this diagonal. I just was noticing these possibilities of the pawn move with check and then tearing up the center. And he plays a5, and now you see the advantage is completely switched to white's favor. And after this move, a6, I wanted to lock up this side of the board where he's advancing, but he can just take and get an open line. I thought I would have time to get my rook out of the way and get my knight out of the way and get a rook over here to oppose his rook, and I thought it would be okay, but it looks like this is just good for white. So he takes. If he takes, I take back, plays h4. Yeah, that was another idea. He never really played this h4 move going after my weak pawns over here. I was planning to defend with the knight. Now hg. Yeah, this is bad. I can't take back because the bishop is on it and the pawn is pinned. So he's crashing through here, and not to mention that he's open to file on the queen side as well if he ever needs the opportunity. So he makes a very instructive mistake here. He's been pushing his pawns and gaining space, and he continues to do that with the move b6. But look at that shift. It went from winning for white to better for black again. he's locked up the side of the board where he has a space advantage. So even though he's got a lot of space over here, he has no way to break through. He does get a nice square for his knight, so it's not a completely hopeless move. But he's thrown away his advantage, which would consist of opening up lines over here on the side of the board where he's got the more space. Okay, so the game continues, and it's about even here. Yeah, also that push opened up a square for my knight, so now I'm thinking of hopping into this square, which is pretty good. He gets this c7 square for his knight, so it's a trade of he gets a good square and I get a good square. But the position is about even. And, oh, he left a pawn hanging. He didn't really need to castle here. He could have traded bishops and then, yeah, or played h4 going after these guys. So castling here was a mistake. He left a pawn hanging, which I grabbed. And now he's got the idea of going after my weak pawns over here, but it's a bit late, actually. He should have done that before castling. Okay, knight back, bishop takes, and this is just not a sound attack at this point. It would have been much much better for him to break through with h4, which he could have done many earlier times. Right here, h4 is not so great. Maybe knight takes e6 first. So let's say I could have played knight takes e6. I take with the queen or the rook. Let's take with the queen then, the engine likes that. And then bishop takes c6. Yeah, this is an idea. He's got a passed pawn now supported by the rook, but I think I can round this up. I don't think this is too dangerous. Rook b3 threatening to double, and rook b7 to stop it. Okay, it's an interesting position. He can double rooks and hold on to this pawn. It's going to be difficult for me to round it up. Maybe I bring my rooks around and then bring the bishop over here and try and round it up that way. Okay, so that would have been the best way for white to play. And instead, he sacked his bishop here. So this is just an unsound attack. But you still have to be careful. Sometimes these unsound attacks pay off. So he sacked a bishop for 2 pawns. And but I just have too many pieces over here. He's not getting any more pressure on my bishop. Plays the move rook e to f7. Oh no, it's my turn here. I play the move rook e to f7. I want some defense. Cancel that. I want some defense along the second rank, and I want some counter threats along the f file. He went to queen h5 check. The king goes here. Now that's interesting. So the evaluation dropped. So this move rook e to f7 was not the right idea. Bishop to f5 is the best defense. Okay, yeah, getting the bishop away from where he can take it, and also controlling some squares over here. Okay, so rook e to f7, it's an adequate defense. I'm still better after this, but my advantage has shrunk. Okay, so bishop to d5, and now I can take it. So that allows me to trade my bishop for his bishop. And, well, he gets a good square for his knight, but I don't know where it's going from there, and my advantage has increased here. So knight to e7, yeah, I guess because I get another piece into the game. And over here where it defends and also counterattacks his knight. He went back to c7 with his knight, not wanting to trade it off. But now you can see he's just got a kind of a lone queen over here against all these pieces. And there's no way to break through. His pawns are too far behind, so I can organize the defense before these come crashing through. So I start chasing his queen around. I go with rook f5, queen to h3, rook up to f6. I'm even thinking maybe I can trap the queen here. He tries to get his pieces into the game. But the queen always has some square to go to. And let's see, there's a certain amount of maneuvering with not a whole lot happening. This is kind of a nice tactic, the knight to f4 idea. You know, it's not really under attack from the pawn because of the pin. And if he takes with the rook, I can take back with a pawn. So that's what he went for. He went for the rook. But now he's down an entire... yeah, he was down a bishop before. Now he's down a rook. Right, because he's got queen, rook, and knight. I have queen, rook, and bishop plus an extra rook. So, yeah, this is not not good enough. Even though my king looks entirely naked, the pieces, there's no pawn cover for the king, but the pieces are adequate. So queen to h3, and I can go on the counterattack here. He can't take my rook because there's a checkmate threat. So he played rook to e1, and allows me to break through here, but there was no good move, I guess. And these are all pretty forcing. The other rook, cancel that. That square is covered by the knight, and I had to bring this rook over to hit his king. And there's this tactic where, you know, he can take the rook and my queen is still hanging, but I get to take his rook with check. And after he takes back, then I get to get his queen. Cancel that. Oh, I took with the bishop. So I remain a rook up. And this should be an easy win. Let's see, he has 2 pawns over here I have to worry about. So the game continues, but I never let it get out of control. So let's just go through the remaining moves here. I think, you know, it's keeping your king in front of the pawns, harassing the pawns from behind, and also notice the bishop covers these squares where the pawns are going to go through. So now that I've set up an appropriate defense where it's difficult for him to to move these pawns forward, now I can start pushing my pawn. And this guy is going to be the game decider. So let's go on to show how he managed to advance his pawns a few moves, but then I queen, and there's a mate in 6 moves at most, so he resigned at this point. But I thought there were a couple interesting and instructive moments in that game. First of all, early on, we recap, when I had the opportunity to play f4 and break through. Well, e5 here, and then f4 here to break through. Well, I have this tremendous lead in development. Look at all these pieces that are out here. And look at his king in the center, and all his pieces are behind the pawns. The only real advanced piece he's got is this knight. So right here is just the time to break through. So you got to spot these moments and calculate them out correctly. And then cancel that. And then going forward, there was this time here where he chose to lock up the queen side, and I think that's another instructive moment. You want to on the side, you want to play on the side where you have the advantage, and right here, you know, he wants to keep some open lines on the queen side because that's where he's got the space advantage. And also, he's got this possibility of h4 here, which he neglected. So, 2 most instructive moments of this game, and then the end like this. So, I hope you guys enjoyed that. Leave any comments you have in the section below, and I will see you again soon. Bye.